Today we'd like to introduce to you the new cast aluminium non-stick cookware range, which is an important category for the AGA Cookshop collection. This takes over from the two previous ranges that we've enjoyed selling in recent years and embodies a lot of the same features and benefits with which you're familiar, and indeed also extends the range and introduces some new products with some great features and benefits. Obviously, historically, the 28cm safety pan has been a mainstay of the range. We're very proud of the new one with this great rounded profile, which makes it much more wok-like in appearance. It's not a full-blown wok, but we know full well there are plenty of customers who want to explore all the possibilities of stir-frying and aren't quite sure whether they want to put the finances into a dedicated wok. So this gives a very credible stir-fry. Has a useful lifting tab, obviously with a gauntlet if the pan's full. Familiar, very easy release, branded removable handle. It's always branded on the base, as we know. One thing that you have asked for us, and we've been able to build into this range, is a durable non-stick, but not only that, the guarantee for this whole vessel, the non-stick lining on the outside and inside, is 5 years complete, so we don't have two different guarantees. The glass lids for the sauté pans are made from pyrex, and indeed they are pyrex branded on the glass component. The lids are metal, so that means you can, if you wish, put that into any of the AGA ovens, and they have a discreet AGA lozenge logo on there. They're sold as an extra add-on item because not everybody buying a sauté pan particularly wants a lid. Obviously they can be sold as a pair, or indeed you can sell it as an extra add-on item at a later date. For the smaller household, we have this square grill pan. This time you'll be pleased to see it does have the removable handle, so you can gently heat the pan, introduce food, and then continue to cook either on the top of the cooker if you wish, or possibly transfer it to the roasting oven of an AGA or the main oven of a Rayburn. And indeed, Rayburn owners will also particularly like this because the square pan actually very much echoes the shape of the rectangular hot plates on most Rayburn models. If you want larger grilling capacity, we have the griddle lid found on the combination pan of this splendid AGA roaster. This is also a fantastic utensil for roasting meat and poultry in a conventional oven on some of our cookers, or indeed any conventional cooker. So it's great for people who haven't got a cast iron oven at this point. Lastly, a new shape to the range. We're very pleased to show you this round casserole, and this actually has a flat lid, so this is a skillet lid, and again a combination pan, so you're getting two pans in one. Another mainstay of any good AGA kitchen is a well-made frying pan, and these are an excellent addition in both sizes, perfect for frying eggs but also brilliant for making pancakes and crepe, which are very difficult to make if you haven't got a pan with a good thick base and also got the necessary non-stick lining. So these are your solution for Shrove Tuesday, or indeed whenever you want to make pancakes. Also fantastic for frittata and tortilla and Spanish omelettes. This pan will typically take a 6 to 7 egg mixture, this a 4 or 5 egg mixture. Other variants obviously to enjoy are things like souffle omelettes, and they also are fantastic for making very, very good tarte tatin that are so easy to turn out. Our new cast aluminium non-stick wok. It's got a fantastic deep design, which is great for cooking a good decent sized stir fry, and you'll notice the rim is also reinforced, so it's going to hold its shape over many years of use. Has a lifting tab with a gauntlet so that when it's full of food it's very easy to lift. Has that nice thick base, it's AGA branded there, and this is one item in the range where we specifically asked for a static handle so that it's very securely attached, and also this is not designed to go in any of the ovens, and that's been a decision we've made. We do recommend that you preheat it gently either on the simmering plate or on the cool end of the Rayburn hot plate, and then move it over to the hotter area before immediately adding fat, and then when that's hot just adding the food very quickly. Gives a very, very credible stir fry. And lastly, another star addition to the range, and that's the milk pan with this great new non-stick lining inside and out and a pouring lip. It's not just a milk pan though. I think every AGA kitchen should have a good milk pan, and this is top of my list. It's also fantastic for cooking foods that are hard to cook because either they're difficult to make or they're difficult to wash up. I'll give you two examples. Scrambled eggs, an absolute dream in this pan, and also porridge made using rolled oats. Very quick to make and indeed even quicker to wash up afterwards. And it even comes with its own smart stainless steel stacking lid. The DuPont non-stick lining is PFOE free, and it's actually a Teflon Platinum Plus coating. Very, very durable, and it's the same on the outside as it is on the inside. And the guarantee, just to recap, it's the same for the actual vessel itself and the lining inside and out, and that is 5 years. The benefit to the customer in use means that you can actually have considerably lower fat content when you're cooking in these pans, and indeed for some dishes you can actually cook completely without any fat at all. So the message is lower fat or no fat. With regards to cleaning, very, very simple. Allow the pan to cool if it's been used over a high heat, and then hot soapy water and clean round. No scour of any type should be used. Nylon brush if you particularly want to, but generally most of the time just wiping around with a micropore cloth or a dishcloth. Rinse with hot water and then drain and allow to dry with residual heat. Poaching eggs at home is something a lot of people struggle with, and usually it's because they're not using the correct utensil or technique. I've chosen a cast aluminium non-stick AGA safety pan, which is perfect. I filled it with about 4 or 5 centimetres of water, brought it to the boil on the boiling plate, and now it's just gently simmering. I want the water at the very most quivering. If it was going to move any more than that, I'd partially offset the pan. It's very important too to have a really fresh egg. And I've got a free range egg. It's a supermarket egg, but fresher the better. And all you do is slowly put the egg into the water. You can crack it straight in, but if you're nervous and new to this, then it's even easier if you've done as I've shown here. Just put it into a cup or a glass, just lower it in, and with this nice large 28 centimetre pan, you can actually cook 6 at the same time. Once you put it in the pan, do nothing else other than simply cover and leave it for about 2.5 to 3 minutes until the white is perfectly set and the yolk is cooked but still runny or to your liking. So now let's see the egg, and it's nice and tightly held together because it's a fresh egg, and it's at this point, if you have an inferior pan, you may run into a problem, but because we've got this wonderful non-stick base, it hasn't stuck at all, and I'm able to drain it using a silicone or a plastic or nylon draining spoon, and there it is, an egg with a perfectly set white and a yolk, just with that little wobble that signals perfection. If you wanted to do a number of them, you can prepare them ahead of time, and at this point lower them into a bowl of iced water, place that in the fridge, so you could do that in the morning when you want a dinner party in the evening, and then when you're ready for service, return them drained into water at this temperature for 30-40 seconds, and they will just reheat perfectly, so you can serve Eggs Benedict for 6 or 8 people with no last minute stress. To make scrambled eggs extremely well with the AGA and using the cast aluminium non-stick pan, I've got the milk pan with a generous knob of butter, and I'm placing that on the simmering plate just to melt and heat through. I have 3 free range eggs. Just going to give a little seasoning, some sea salt and a little black pepper, some milk, and just while that butter gets ready, I'm just going to whisk this up just with a table fork. You want to incorporate the eggs so they're well mixed, but not so thoroughly that they're homogeneous. You just want just the odd strand of yolk discernible, a little bit more than you would for an omelette, but that's plenty. And the butter is now swirling around the pan. and I can pour in the eggs, and it's from this point on, it's very important when making scrambled eggs to cook them slowly. And because the curds will form in the base of the pan, I'm using a flat-ended spatula, so as I gently stir, as it heats through, slowly, I will be able to cause those curds just to be introduced into the mixture, so that corner of the spatula will just get into the pan and is perfectly safe to use on this wonderful non-stick surface. As you can see, that's pretty much done now. It's continuing to cook in the retained heat of the pan. If you wish, you could just add a small little pellet of butter there just to finish it off, but for me that's perfect. I've just literally emptied this pan onto the plate and rinsed it under the tap. Just give it a little brush with a nylon brush, just a matter of moments, rinsed it out, just to show you how easy and quick it is just to finish, no debris at all. To get the best results out of the new cast aluminium wok, I've placed it on the simmering plate for 30 seconds or so just to take the chill off it, to preheat it, and I'm moving it to the boiling plate just to heat up a little further before we start cooking, but I don't want to get it too hot before adding the ingredients. Here we have the pak choy, which I've trimmed and quartered. We'll be adding some cashew nuts towards the end, and I've used a microplane grater to grate a little trinity of Asian ingredients to give some aromatics as a back note: garlic, ginger and chilli. You don't need to use so much oil when you're using these non-stick pans, so I'm just going to add just a mere little drizzle of rapeseed oil. Other oils you could use, but this is my favourite oil because it's got a high smoke point, so just swirl it around, and already it's hot enough for me to add the aromatics. So into the wok they go. You can hear that sizzle, tells us we've got the pan good and hot. Just get them on their way, working quickly because it is a very fast process with this utensil on the exceedingly hot AGA boiling plate. And now we can add the pak choy. And I'll be stir frying this. I'm using, in this case, some silicone spatulas, but you could use wood to protect the non-stick. And I'm going to give it about 2 to 2.5 minutes, just keeping the contents moving, just so we get colour on various parts of the stem, and just as the leaves start to wilt. So I'm going to add the cashew nuts now, a bit of extra protein, and some naturally brewed Japanese soy sauce, just to finish things off. Just to dress the stir fry and get it ready for service. So got that nice contrast between the crispness, yet they're still piping hot, of the stems and the wilty greens. That's pretty much done. Notice too, I haven't used a splash guard today because I've actually got such a deep wok. It's not so essential as when you're using a shallower model. So we're going to grill some steak now, and using the larger of the two options, I've taken the griddle from the new rectangular roaster, just been on the simmering plate just to take the chill off it, so we've got no risk of thermal shock. We don't want to overheat this, just allow that just to heat up a little further for a few moments. The beauty of this for grilling steak is that we can actually use it with no added fat whatsoever, so it's completely clean and dry at the moment. And here we have two aged sirloin steaks. With some grill pans in the range historically, we've needed to give a light film of oil before introducing them, but we can actually do a no-fat grill here. And that sizzle just tells us we've got the pan good and hot. You don't want to overheat the pan because that would cause problems with the non-stick, but you've got to get it up to operating temperature before you add the meat. And those steaks were at room temperature. With any cooker, you should always cook meat and poultry, bring the food to room temperature, certainly half an hour or so, depending on the thickness and the time of year, so that you're cooking from ambient. And we're going to get that wonderful patterning, that branding from those ridges. As you can see, I'm just cooking two sort of 250 gram 9-ounce steaks here, but you can accommodate 4 or 5 if you put them the other way. Also very good for chicken breasts, and also for meatier fish like tuna, swordfish, marlin, and you can also do kebabs and even floured liver with care. At this point, if you prefer, having got the utensil nice and hot, we can continue to cook, if we prefer, on the floor of the roasting oven, or you can also do a mixture of grilling from below and above right at the top of the hot oven. However, to show you what's happening, I'm going to continue cooking on the top For some meats, like a steak, I think it gives the very best results because it's the hottest part of the cooker. It is hotter than the floor of the roasting oven. So I'm now going to turn using silicone spatula, and already we've got that wonderful patterning, and as you can see, with no added fat, and that lifted off perfectly because that is the property of this wonderful non-stick surface. Remember, the secret to cooking a really good steak on any cooker is twofold. You sear fast, which is what we've done now, and then equally important, rest slow. So I have a warmed plate ready on the warming plate. I'm going to lift this cooked steak onto that plate. And the thicker the steak, the longer you want to leave it to rest. These two sirloins are going to take, I would say, 2 or 3 minutes minimum. Of course, the secret to cooking any steak really well on any cooker is to sear fast, which we've done here, and then, most importantly, the second process is all important. You need to rest it slowly. So I've got a warm plate there. I'm going to take this off the heat with a splash guard and just let that rest. And after 2 or 3 minutes, the thicker the steak, the longer you want it to actually rest. So I'm going to give these 2 or 3 minutes and then cut across the grain to get the very best tender result. Here we have the square grill pan, and I've just placed that on the cool end of the Rayburn hot plate. The cooker's at a moderate setting, just to take the chill off the pan, so we avoid any chance of thermal shock. I want to introduce the food pretty quickly, so just going to move it over to the boiling end of the hot plate, just to get fully ready to cook. And here I have some tuna steak. They've been taken out of the fridge and brought to room temperature for a good 40 minutes, and we're now going to place them in that hot pan. And here already that sizzle starting. It's important to cook fish such as this from room temperature because we want to get some coloration on the outside, and we want to cook it to a medium rare or to taste. And if they're cold when they go in straight from fridge, by the time you've got them fine on the middle, they're going to be frankly not as you would want them in the centre. You'll notice too, a good feature on this pan is we have a pouring lip on either side. So you might want to, for example, use this pan to grill some duck breasts. Start off with the skin side down and on a low setting, then increase the heat as the fat is rendered off, and often you get quite a bit of fat off the duck breast, which you can save for cooking delicious roast potatoes. You're able to easily pour that off with this pouring lip from either side. I'm going to cook these for about a minute, and already you can see they're well on their way. If you preferred, you could transfer to the oven, but for the best results, personally I'd like to watch what's happening, so I can see already the colour of the flesh is changing as the heat is coming through. So it's about a third of the way through now, which would show that it's ready to turn. And you can see absolutely no sticking whatsoever. Searing fast and resting slow is always the watchword to grill or to griddle, and I have a warmed plate ready to receive the cooked fish because we want to rest it, so we're going to place that there. If you want to get a pattern at a higher temperature on a steak or on chicken breast or some liver, then you can rotate the food by 45 degrees to get a crisscross pattern, but as is fish, I'm cooking it with just the light markings, and it's pretty much done. It will continue to cook as it rests with the retained heat. The last thing I want to do is overcook it and end up with a dry, disappointing end result. So there, it's that simple, and place the pan to cool. To finish, teriyaki dressing simply drizzled over the top, and that will just soak in, give a subtle back note, and we'll cut that across the flesh to give a very tender result into strips.